Hey, all, what's up? Welcome to the GI Justin channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I first off want to thank you guys. I've had a couple people. I've got a link in the description down here for Buy Me a Bourbon. It's actually Buy Me a Coffee. I don't drink a ton of coffee. I do, however, on occasion drink bourbon. And I want to thank the few of you guys that have come on and bought me a bourbon already. I truly appreciate that. It's super cool to be able to spend some time with y'all and have a bourbon. So thank you guys so much for that have reached out and done that. That's super cool, and I appreciate it. So today we're going to kind of do something a little different, and I'm going to answer a question that I've gotten a bunch when it comes to something we've talked about fairly recently and fairly regularly, and it goes back to one of the things that's going on in Ukraine right now. So I get the question a lot as to Russia shows off some very, very advanced tanks that they have, very advanced jets, and some really, really neat stuff. So they've got this tank called the T-14 Armata, which is supposed to be the most advanced tank in the history of warfare. And the thing is, the Russians, they do a pretty darn good job of putting tanks together. Their Tu-30 or their T-34 tank in World War II, total game changer. It completely changed the Eastern Front of warfare, and nothing the Germans had could touch it. They've made T-72 tanks, which are iconic, T-90 tanks, which are pretty darn cool, which we currently have in the United States now. Thank you, Ukraine. But they have this super, super amazing tank called the T-14 that supposedly is at least a peer to the M1 Abrams, which is our main battle tank that really, really has been the undisputed king of tank warfare for the better part of 25 years. Another one that they have, and if you've seen Top Gun 2, you've seen this airplane at the end of the movie where they're flying the F-14 and those two super cool looking airplanes pull up next to them and they're trying not to let them know that they're Americans. Those are called Su-57s, and they're made by a company called Sukhoi. They're supposed to be the answer to the F-22. Haven't really seen them yet, and we'll get there. We'll get there. We're going to talk about that. But the Su-57 is supposed to be a fifth on its way to a sixth generation fighter, meaning that it has stealth, the ability to cruise super, super, super fast without burning a ton of fuel, because typically our third and fourth generation fighters that are capable of flying faster than the speed of sound have to do so and trade off an enormous amount of range and jet fuel to do so, whereas the F-22, the Raptor that we have, along with apparently this Sukhoi Su-57, are capable of what's called super cruise, meaning they can get fast enough and hold it without burning in their afterburner, making them go faster but burn more gas, decreasing their range. So they've got this Su-57 and apparently a brand new one that we haven't seen yet called the Su-75 that is still kind of under lock and key. They're not putting it out there, showing it off a whole lot yet. So the question that I've been asked by a bunch of people around town and by a few of you on here is, if Russia is not winning, which they are not, I mean, they're in a stalemate, and news came out today that they've actually fallen back from some positions that they've been holding on to, and the chief of this Wagner group, who's basically a paramilitary organization who is being bankrolled by the Russians to come in and basically fight the war for them, have given up a bunch of their forward positions and fallen back due to just stalemate, trench warfare. So the question has come up: if Russia has all of these amazing, amazing, amazing technologically peer to what we have in America weapons, why aren't they using them? If they're losing to tiny little Ukraine backed by us, why are they not bringing in their most powerful weapons? It is a good question, and it has, in my opinion, a two-part answer. So part number one is, it is pretty obvious thus far that Russia is not who we thought they were, that their military, we thought, was very capable, very advanced, and very powerful. And it turns out that they have severe corruption. There's videos of tanks whose armor was sold by the officers being sent into combat. Could you imagine? Before you roll in, officer climbs up on the tank and goes, "Hey, hold on a minute, I need these armor panels," pulls them off, goes and sells them on the black market. What the heck? I would be pissed off. So secondly, their military structure does not support free thinking. There are lower enlisted, and officers with no high-level NCOs, and they are given a battle plan and forced to do it. So it's proving that their military is not as advanced and cohesive as we thought. So that leads to the, this first point, that is, I think there's a good chance the Russians don't want the world to see that the Su-57, the Su-75, the T-90, and the T-14 Armada, that's supposed to be the king of battle tanks, are actually junk. That they don't have enough of them, they're poorly made, and they are not the wonder weapons, so to speak, that the Russians want the world to believe. Because as soon as you can poke a hole in that, they're a lot less scary. Granted, they still have nukes, without a doubt, but are they as scary as they would be? No, I don't think they are. And I think that would give them a moment of pause when they realize that the stuff we have is as powerful as we say it is, which is a true statement. I mean, it is proven that our aircraft are the best in the world. So the second point that I want to make when it comes to why we haven't seen any of these super fancy, interesting, amazing Russian aircraft and tanks and technologically superior weapons is because every time an advanced piece of Russian gear is disabled, or the crew killed, or something happens to it, the Ukrainians are allowing us to pick it up. Perfect example. Last week at a U.S. Army research facility, some pictures were taken of the most advanced Russian infantry fighting vehicle and another one of a T-90 tank, which is a very, very, very new and advanced, like we talked about, Russian main battle tank. They're here. We're researching them. And the thing is, what better way to backwards plan against somebody else than to literally have their stuff and be able to take it apart and look at it and say, okay, where are the weak spots? Where are the weak points in this thing, and where can we shoot them? And along that same line, when it comes to their aircraft, they have an infrared sensor that is very advanced, that is a big problem for us. This sensor, so with radar, you can see radar because radar is emitting energy. It's an active platform. With this infrared sensor, it's passive. All it's doing is seeing what is out there. Think of it as like a forward-looking infrared radar, like FLIR. If you've seen, ghost shows, there's FLIR on ghost shows. The old videos of bombing runs from F-117 stealth fighters in Desert Storm. Technology's been around for quite a while, but the Russians have these, and they can mount them on their aircraft, and they are very, very, very technologically advanced. So thing is, they start forward deploying these aircraft that have these infrared sensors on them. What happens when one of these aircraft gets shot down and that infrared sensor is intact? Guess where it goes? Here. And we get to do some research on it and see what makes it tick and how to reverse engineer it, so maybe we can use them ourselves on some of our cool stuff. Don't think we're not doing it. Everybody else in the world's doing it. We're doing it. So that's I think the two real answers to this question of why are the Russians losing and why aren't they using their most advanced weaponry like they should against the Ukrainians to try to help turn this tide of a war that is, for all intents and purposes, not in any way, shape, or form the way they thought it should go. I think they're probably going to hold on to that stuff. I don't think we see a time where they're ever going to put any of these platforms at risk. They may use the Su-57 at extremely long range to fire from Russian airspace into Ukraine. That's a possibility for sure. There's some early signs that they may have done that. But I think in terms of seeing these T-14 tanks and the super advanced things they have, I don't see a place from my perspective where they fire this stuff up. So I hope that answers the question for those of y'all that have kind of posed that to me so far. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for commenting and liking the video. Down here in that corner is going to be a little helicopter. A little circle's going to pop up with a little helicopter in it. Click on that thing and subscribe to the channel. Really helps me out, find out what it is you guys like and what you want to see more of. So thank you guys so much, and have an awesome afternoon.